Call the spaceships to Davenport, prepare for divanarchy, and interface with a couch in space. It's space couch time. It's a space couch. I changed the focus on space couch here a little bit, so we're cropped in a little tighter. But I don't know if I ever showed you this amazing throw that friend of the show Tammy made. Look at it. It's a couch throw that says space couch on it. So thank you very much for Tammy for sending that in. I also want to thank this week's advertisers. Brand new, it's Ligerhawk Records at ligerhawkrecords.bandcamp.com. You want to check out Bitman's new one, Questoris 2. It's so good. And then you want to Panda covered Friends of P, one of my favorite tracks from high school. Once Upon a Time, the new jam from Tommy Tantrum. I think it's one of his best. Spew has a new demo out. It's so gnarly. It's just really raw. Gasoline Invertebrate remixed Meat Cramp, his track Cessation. I also put out a remix disc called Smelted. That's for free. And that's a lot of me this week. New single featuring Libertarian Goth. And we played the trailer for the Kickstarter at the start of the episode. I'm finally figuring out this grift thing. Then our other sponsor this week is, of course, Super 7. All the coolest toys in all the land. You want to go to super7.com/spacecouchshow. That helps us out. You know, always picking up stuff from them. This just showed up. I'm so excited about it. They made an action figure of Boogie Boy from Devo, one of my favorite bands ever. With the mask and the sampler over the shoulder and everything, they just nailed it. So you can pick up that Boogie Boy action figure at super7.com/spacecouchshow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a really exciting one for me because I've just been really digging our guest stuff. And his resume is just like amazing. So please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Garcia. What's up? Hi, welcome to space. Very roomy
Hello.
Up here. Thank you very much. Awesome. Okay, this is really cool. Because I have been listening to the new hotness that is, I don't speak French, but I'm going to screw it up. But Les Rêves Américains.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that's how you say it.
All right. Sick. So we'll put the link out for our audience. At least I've been listening to it on Spotify, available on at anthonymusic.bandcamp.com as well. Everybody check it out. So let's just start with that because it's the newest album. I mean, like I said, your resume is impressive, but starting at the start, what, if anything, defines this album for you? Or is it just like you hit 10 tracks and like that's an album? Or is this like, does anything encapsulate it in this body of work?
I mean, mainly I was just wanting to do a piano album.
Cool.
That's pretty much what I was wanting to do with when I did this. And it, brought in a bunch of other kinds of elements to it. But there was no it's just, I haven't. When I make albums nowadays, it's not necessarily one genre. I tend to focus on an instrument. So,
okay, cool.
The first band I did one with my band in 2020, and then I did an album called Songs, which is just me with my acoustic guitar because I was playing a lot of songwriter festivals at the time.
Oh, okay.
And I needed some merch to sell. So I made that, and then. I had a lot of people ask me to make a Spanish guitar album, so I made that with all my original compositions a couple of years ago, and then I had just been kind of itching to make a piano album because I hadn't made one in a while.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
that's awesome.
And then I had just been listening to a lot of different musicians, and I just felt like it was time for me to focus on that side of myself, and so that's all that this is really. And there wasn't too much of I guess there was a bit of a vision, but not there wasn't anything that I didn't have it outlined and set in
Oh yeah,
concrete
right. I
stone.
mean, it doesn't
It
not
kind
everything
of
has to be Peter and the Wolf with like a story to it,
yeah.
but like,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
it's great. It's like it's amazing. I would venture to say
Thank you.
the album title. It's the American Dream in French. That's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. Where'd that come from?
Well, I think a couple of reasons. Well, the first one is actually I was in Paris about in 2016, and
Cool.
um, so the night of the election when Trump was running against Clinton, and um, and at the time, it was a different kind of world to me. I saw the world in a different way, and I didn't want Trump to win,
Right, right.
and it was interesting to me because I was walking down the street and I saw a newspaper front page newspaper in French, and it had a puppet of Trump and a puppet of Hillary, and it said "Le Rêve Américain." That was
Okay,
the title of the thing, and that kind of just stuck with me.
sure.
And also the cover of the album is a photo that I snapped in Montmartre. Montmartre is a neighborhood in Paris, and it's
Right.
kind of where all the artists lived at the turn of the century, of the turn of the 1800s to the 1900s. And some musicians lived up there, and so I stayed up there on that trip with my ex, and we both were really into art and music, of course, and so it kind of just it was this sort of weird kind of juxtaposition of the time. I
Mm.
snapped this photo. The cover of the album is these guys in this French cafe playing chess, and this giant American flag is just draped, from the
Yeah.
top of the wall to the bottom, and it was just so funny to me.
That is wild.
Um,
Yeah, I would totally use
at
that.
a time back then when um, people were just up in just, yeah, I mean, well, nothing's changed. It's still the same. But I mean, people were just Trump even back then was just really just I mean, just a very volatile or very controversial figure.
Hmm.
I talked with several uh, people at the time, even from Italy. We were talking about Trump running, and everybody was freaking out at the time. So it
Hmm.
was just interesting. It was just an interesting juxtaposition for me.
Totally.
The other thing too is that now that phrase, the idea of the American dream for me now is something that younger me might have scoffed at the triteness of it, of the
Hmm.
idea of, you know, God bless America and that
Right,
whole kind of
right.
thing. And but the older me now, or the present day me thinks about that concept and is very proud, and I still feel that that is a wonderful, a still wonderful concept, and it's a concept that's still alive and well, and it will continue to be alive and well for many, many years. And so I thought, taking that kind of a concept, which is maybe a conservative or maybe a more of a traditional idea, and then just dressing it up in some sort of like French language would be kind of funny.
That's
So
as if I could like the
it's-
album anymore. I align with that a lot. Like I never thought I'd be doing like here's my red, white, and blue, wristband type show.
exactly, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah. So like I really feel you on that. The other thing I'm really excited about is that this whole Space Couch thing started nominally as an industrial music show because I was really into that world before they kicked me out. But you've described La Rara Americana as quasi electronica.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you could speak to the influence electronic music had on this piano album.
Yeah, so so like I grew up playing guitar when I was very young and
Hmm.
in the 80s. So I'm 50 now. I was born in 1974. And so in the 80s that was like I was in my teens, and there
Right.
was a lot happening in the music of rock and heavy metal during that time. So I was like, I guess for lack of a better term, I was like a hard rock or heavy metal guitar
Sure.
player. Playing as fast as I could and
Right. Right.
using two hands to play the guitar, blah, blah,
Squeedly and
freaking out.
Beedly.
And
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
We
That
are
was like,
actually of a similar vintage. I remember that time well.
yeah. So I really was into that. That's my musical roots, is what
Hmm.
I'm trying to tell you. And as time has gone on, I've kind of ventured into other things. I was never really like an electronic kind of guy, but I kind of got into it in my own for my own reasons and in my own way. Um, so it's just a genre of music that actually just calms me, and I love it, and
Mm,
I look at
okay.
it as more of a instead of looking at it as work, which I sometimes look at other music, or
Hmm.
I can listen to other types of music and compare myself to it, and judge that kind of music. Just that's just what happens. It doesn't happen like that for me with electronic music. And
Oh,
electronic music is
fascinating.
just
Okay.
something. It's something to me that's like kind of separate from me, but
Right.
at the same time, it's like I really love it, and it
Mm.
relaxes me, and calms me down. It's what I listen to at home.
Okay,
And
very
so
cool.
the type of music that would be like I guess what we would call now like lo-fi or down tempo or
Hmm.
something like kind of style of music. And I try to incorporate a little bit of that, subtly in this or the spirit of it a little bit in this album sometimes. I mean,
Okay.
certainly there are solo piano pieces that are only solo piano, but then there are others that are just that lend itself to for,
Totally.
maybe some electronic sounds or ambient sounds to fill the space,
Yeah, I mean,
instead of
I was just gonna say, like, a lot of times there's like a digga 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 digga, like an arp that
yeah,
kicks in. That's like, oh, that
yeah,
sounds like it's coming from an
yeah.
arpeggiator, but you play like, so.
Hmm.
Uh,
So a lot of the album too is, you know, I'll say it because since we're on the subject, but so I use Logic Pro, of course,
okay.
and Logic has so many good sounds,
Oh,
including
awesome.
great piano sounds.
Okay.
And so I happen to have a 1940s Chickering baby grand piano in my music room here that I used, but
Cool.
on some of the tracks I just used
Oh, okay.
the
Awesome.
Logic pianos, and they're so good, and they just have some really cool
Fooled
built-in
me. I'm
effects.
not fooled because it's
And
like legit, but
yeah, yeah, I know what you mean because it's just, it's very they're such good sounds.
yeah.
And also I ended up using an orchestral suite or a strings library from the BBC orchestra and that I
Nice.
bought. And it's, it's sort of like getting into the whole plugins world and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So
Oh yeah.
a lot of it is very I performed it. AI did not make this album, but it
Yes.
was
Yes.
it's my creativity. But I did use some, I guess, what you'd call like plugins or and things along that line a lot.
Oh
And
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
I try not to rely on that as a crutch. I try to use it as a tool.
Uh huh.
And I don't I think that is at least in the musician world, sometimes I think that kind of thing gets looked down upon. I think a lot of
Oh
purists look
yeah.
down upon that, which I understand. But at the same time, I think there's something to be said for musicians who come from a world where they've actually studied music and spent
Hmm.
time with the nuts
Totally.
and bolts of music and the grammar of music. And then they can kind of break away a little bit from that and in a respectful way,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't think there's anything disrespectful about what that type of musician does. So,
Well, that's what I do. So I totally agree with you. And
yeah.
it's interesting you bring up AI because you're just making me think of something. And I mean, for a long time, I would say like, well, yeah, electronic music is real music because it's not like people just thought it was like magic. And I'm like, yeah, you stare at Cubase and make music come out of it, but now you can totally
Hmm.
do that like
Hmm.
with AI. So I have to come up with a new description, I guess. But back to
Hmm.
you. I mean, we are. This is costing billions of dollars to beam the signal from Texas up here into space. So I shouldn't dilly dally. But so. Correct me if I screw this up because there's you as sort of a solo musician and then there's the full band Los Diablos Tejanos and
Yeah.
then
Hmm.
then there's not like a third entity of Anthony Garcia, the full band. Like whenever you talk about full band, that is Los Diablos Tejanos.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool,
Yes,
cool,
it
cool,
is.
cool.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
and so, um, in terms of songwriting, just because I only ever program little beeps and boops in my underwear, like, do you have to reproach it like with a different energy? Like, I know this violin line is going to be played by somebody else. Like, do you tailor it to that, or is this all I'm going to put this out on paper and we'll kind of get to the band part of it later?
You know, so the band CDs that I put out have been, I look at them like as a composition. Like
Mm,
I've I've written a lot of the parts. So my violinist in some cases will make create her own part, or in some other cases I have
okay.
written the part out, and it's the song's already finished. In some cases I've already demoed it, and I've already like played all the parts.
Okay.
And so then it's just like, okay, learn this part, and then we
Gotcha.
re-record it with that person playing, you know
All
what I'm
right.
saying? So I tend to look at it as so in other words, we don't get into a room and make up a song together.
Okay. Right.
You know,
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
that's not what happens. I mean, we don't really even have time for that. We
Right.
barely have
Right.
time to
Right. Who does?
get together and have lunch together as a band.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
when we do write new song, or when we do have a new song, I send a recording ahead of time,
Hmm.
and then they kind of learn it. And then, the to the extent of the creative process that we share, it would be that we all get into the practice room and talk about, the type of, maybe
Okay.
they'll ask me what kind of feel I want or something, or
Mm.
they'll ask me what kind of, but it is, I would love to do an album like that with this particular band, because
Mm.
the band that I have right now is phenomenal, and it's
Okay.
just such a
Cool.
great group of musicians, and they're also unique in their own way. But time constraints doesn't always
Sure. 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 Sure.
allow for
Sure.
that. Plus, we all live like out an hour from each other, so
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
we come together often to play. We come
Very
together to play
cool.
all the
Well,
time.
we'll definitely get into that. I'm also curious how you approach songwriting physically, for lack of a better word. Like, I'm best at 4 a.m. Like, for some reason, like, or if I'm in the shower, I'll run out and have to like write something down. Like,
Mhm.
what's your actual process like?
I'm very deadline oriented.
Oh, okay,
Like,
awesome.
I have to put pressure on myself to create, because if I just sit around and at my house, I mean, I'm not gonna sit around and write a song.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I'm gonna work on the yard, or like do some other things that need to be done.
Okay.
I mean, or go to the gym or something. I mean, I'm not gonna sit around and be like, I need to write a song today.
Okay.
That's just
Interesting.
not what I do. So putting some sort of a deadline on myself, whether it's like, I want to put out a piano album and I want it to be done in 6 weeks. Go.
Awesome. Yeah. It's
Or it's like, I have this songwriter festival coming up and I want to have 5 songs written for that. And that's not probably the best way to do it, but it's like,
no.
and in
I
fact,
mean,
I'm going to have a songwriter festival coming up in October,
oh,
and
cool.
I kind of haven't written any songs in a long time, and I kind of need some new ones. So I'm just gonna, probably here in a couple of weeks, I'll probably just need to buckle down and write some songs. So
Throwing out
um,
track is a great way to
yeah,
do it. Like,
but
I'm all about it.
that's how I operate, and it took me a long time to learn that, because
Mm,
you know, it took me a really long time to learn that's how I function. And I
okay.
felt bad for so long, because I felt like I needed to be one of those songwriters that wrote a song every day, or,
Yeah,
writes,
right, right.
I write 500 songs in a week, one of those guys. And
Right.
it's not at all who I am. I mean,
Yeah, well,
I'd rather take an entire year and write a song that I'm proud of
there,
than,
there you go.
yeah,
To say nothing of the fact that the people that, in my experience, say that they write 500 songs a week somehow never
yeah,
have any of them for you to hear, but they totally exist, man.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the something else that I'm very excited about personally. You toured Germany.
Oh,
Alles
right.
klar. Like,
Alles klar. Dann kommen
I
Sie.
I spent a year abroad there, and I used to be fairly
Really?
fluent in German. Yeah,
Where'd you live?
in Freiburg am Breisgau, so like
Are you
way.
serious?
Yeah, do you know
That's where
Freiburg?
we go. Oh yeah, we go there all the time.
Ah, no.
We're going. Yeah, we've gone back. So one of my best friends in the world lives there,
Uh huh.
and we've So I say we, my wife and I, and then my band.
Sure.
We've been there. I've done like 2 or 3 tours there by myself solo, and then with the band we've gone through twice or
That's
3 times.
awesome. You don't remember the
And
name of the venue that you played there, do you?
what's that now?
You don't remember the name
Um,
of the.
So there's one little, very small place that I played called Lit Fast, which is this
Okay.
super duper tiny little bar. Then there's another place there. I played several places over the
Okay.
years. There's a Vinotech Agora, which is like a wine.
Yeah,
It's like a
there is.
wine place. And then there's this castle called the Schloss Cafe,
Yeah,
and it's like up on a hill, kind of outside of the town, and that's where we
totally.
played this past year. And it's like a 70-person seater or whatever.
That's
And but the
so
band we brought
wild.
in, and then I'm trying to think of some other places. Then some towns around it. There's a town called Gundelfingen,
Okay.
which is just north of Freiburg, and then there's a town called Staufen, which is south of there.
Yeah.
So it's like I've played in all those little towns in the area. I have a buddy over there that books for me,
Okay.
but he'll just do these little venues, which is
Very
totally cool. I
cool.
love playing them. And then it's all kind of like, anyways, yeah. But that's funny that you
Yeah.
lived there.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh wow.
The Studentensiedlung, the
Oh
and which I is still there. The Stuzy bar that like we played at is it's I think I've heard it's still there, but it's renamed. But yeah, well, with the Munster tour and everything,
Yes. Yeah, I know what you're
that
talking
has
about.
a McDonald's in it, and you're like, why did you
Yeah, yeah,
have to?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like ye Carrie calls it ye olde McDonald's.
Oh wow, that's like
It's like the 1600 the McDonald's from the 1600s. Yeah, I love that whole area.
we
So
always
there's a
called.
place called my friend lives right around the corner from that McDonald's, right downtown. On this,
Get out.
there's a street called Fisherau, which is a
Yeah.
really small little. It has a little stream,
Hmm.
and she lives there. So it's funny because this friend of mine that lives there now, she and I met in 1992 when she was an exchange student in my hometown here in Texas. And so we've just stayed friends. She's like one of my best friends, and she's
Okay.
it's like a sister,
That's
you know what I mean?
that's
So
crazy.
we've just stayed in touch. Like her son came here and visited us, and we've just kept this friendship. Thankfully, we lost touch for a lot of years just for very, just
Hmm.
logistical reasons. Just it's just how it goes sometimes. But so yeah, I kind of feel like Freiburg is like my little second home in some ways over there in Germany. But
For the audience, there's we're talking about the sort of the site you see in Freiburg. It's called the Munstertor. It's this beautiful like oldie time gate from the
yeah.
olden days, and then for some horrific reason, there's a McDonald's like a zit like just built right into
Yeah.
it.
It's kind of
Um,
funny though how it does kind of belong. It kind of fits at least in
it
some way. I
now
mean,
yeah
at least they made it kind of look similar to the wall that's
right.
like right next to.
Yeah, they tried to put like a facade of oldie time McDonald's
That's
on it,
hilarious, man. But I
but
was an exchange you were an exchange student there?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
Uh,
was an exchange student also in Germany in near Frankfurt, up north of Frankfurt. So
wow.
it was a while back, but I traveled all over for a
Love me
while and
some
stuff, and
Frankfurt. Well,
yeah, it was cool.
on that line, I'm curious as to how like for our listeners, things like the American Indian is giant still in
Yeah.
Germany. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering how your brand of Los Diablos Tejanos went down, or just people like
Man,
loving it.
they
Yeah.
love it over there. They love, so just in case anybody probably has not heard the other style of music that I play, there's another style that my band and I play, and it's like an Americana style. It would be like country or folk, but it's like very imagine like Calexico style or something along those like just like dusty cinematic. I call it cinematic Americana.
Mm.
So it's songwriting with Western or country, elements, mixed with some kind of classical violin sounds and electric guitars. And so that's the style we play when we go over there. We also play some traditional country. We also play a lot of Spanish music, like traditional Mexican music and Latin music. And my drummer is like the most. It's so funny. He's he's like the most incredible drummer.
Okay.
I mean, one of the most incredible drummers I've ever played with, and he knows all the styles. He studied music, and all that. And so he's a very humble guy, but he's from England, and he's playing all this Latin stuff. He's jamming on all this
Amazing.
Latin
Love
stuff.
it.
It's so, and he kill. I mean, he's incredible. He kills it every time. So when we go over there, that's the style we do, and um, people really love that style of music in Germany. Especially we go to Munich as well. We're going to Munich this year, and there's an entire scene in Munich. It's like there's a whole country scene,
That's
rockabilly
amazing.
scene. Yeah, it's really weird. It's really strange. It's like a Western swing, country, rockabilly scene. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's underground because I have
Right.
a German friend that I met in Texas, and he's a fantastic musician. And he was born and raised in Munich, and he comes over here and plays 1 month out of the year, and I go over there and play. And there's just it's hilarious the way there's a place called the Rattlesnake Saloon in Munich, and it's like it's like walking into the Broken Spoke in Austin, which is covered with all these photographs like Bob
Okay.
Wills and Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson, and it's just an old saloon, and they have an internet radio station that plays nothing but old country, like I'm
Oh,
talking like
amazing.
all this Eddie Arnold and like Ernest Tubb, all of the stuff from the 40s and the 50s, and um, you know, they that's an internet radio that they have, and then they come on in German, and it's like Das war ein Lied von Louis Williams.
Jawohl.
Yeah.
Ah, that's good stuff. We
But
should just do
anyway,
the
so
rest of the
it's really
show in
cool.
German. That's cool. Well, so if anybody is in Munich, check out our guest in October in an underground rockabilly bar near you. Um,
So yeah, we'll be there at the end of August. So we start this year. We start out in Switzerland. We play this festival, um, and we've been playing
cool.
it. I've played it like 4 times now, but or something like that. But that's at the end of August, and then we kind of make our way to Munich and then back through Germany,
That is so
um,
dope.
and then we're back out. So, um, but yeah, it's a little. That's it's been it's a challenge when you take a band over.
I can't
It's
imagine.
it's a challenge. It's fun. We have a blast, but there's always
Okay,
the logistical stuff like where does
sure.
everybody stay and how do we get from point A
To
to point
say
B and
nothing of a
you know
language barrier, even though
yeah
most people
yeah
Germans speak
yeah
wonderful English.
yeah
Um, I I want to smash cut to something totally
sure
non-related to that, but before
okay
because we obviously met through your wife, Carrie Smith of the wonderful Deprogram show. It
yeah yeah
was one of the coolest shows I've ever been on. I've
yeah. I
been
saw y'all's talk on there. It was great.
Oh, thank you. That came at a really that was like really big for me. Let's just like figure out what's going on in my life. Anyway, um, I, was, I have to ask, like, do you consider your musical output political in any way? Being that Carrie Smith, of course, does the Deprogram show and talks about getting out of the woke cult and so forth.
No, I mean I wouldn't say that
Okay.
necessarily. I mean I have like I mean they have definitely at times become intertwined or
Hmm.
there's been some overlap. But I wouldn't say that I
Okay.
uh, maybe overtly political. I think I have like one song that might be a little. I have a song that I've written called "Pancho Villa Rides Again," and
Mm.
it tells this story. It's certainly like a Bob Dylan, Townes Van Zandt kind of like a lot of words telling a story with just the guitar kind of song. It's
Mm.
dark, and it's this story about um, the, so it was during the Mexican Revolution, and Pancho Villa and Emiliano Zapata were the two main revolutionaries. They were the leaders of one in the north, one in the south, and they were rebelling against the tyrannical government that was just terrible. It was really bad.
Hmm.
And they were going and taking from the rich and giving and redistributing wealth through means of violence. And my great grandfather was a landowner in Mexico during that time, and Pancho Villa and all his men came to my great grandfather's land
Get out.
and said, give us your everything, or we're gonna kill you." And so my great grandfather was like, "Well, let's go," when let's, and they fought to the death. And but my grandfather was a boy at the time; he was 12,
Uh huh.
and he his father gave him a horse and said, "Go and run." And so he rode to Texas and made his life. And that was like
Wow.
my dad told me that story, and I kind of didn't believe him at first. And so then I kind of sat on that story for a long time, and I wrote a song, and which is the song I just told you, and it's all about that story. Um,
That's
but I
wild.
think the thing though is that the stance I kind of take on the song to answer your question is that and once I did write the song though I realized how common that story was. I've had
Mm.
so many people come up to me
No
after I play
kidding.
that song or on a break. Yeah, a lot of people um, had that story in Mexico. And then there were also people who had that story, other Texans who fought against because Pancho Villa raided into Texas too, and there were a lot of people that resisted him. They fought,
Mm.
and I've had guys tell me like my grandfather fought against Pancho Villa, and I have his Winchester rifle at home. Like there's just all these stories
Wow.
about that, but that I guess in that story I take on like the idea of what a revolutionary is,
Mm.
and it's like we always venerate these revolutionaries, or at least I did in my
Hmm.
youth,
Sure.
and I don't anymore because I don't feel that revolution is necessarily the right answer.
Right.
Revolution just means violence, and it just means aggression till we have and we'll take whatever we want until we get our goal by
Hmm.
all means necessary. And I don't I don't subscribe to that. Sometimes we gloss over the reality of
Hmm.
the fact that it's violent.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
and Pancho Villa himself was a licensed killer. I mean, he was just a
Uh-huh.
killer.
Right.
He was a serial killer who just
Right.
was given a cause, was given a reason. And so um that's about as, I think that's about as deep as I got into,
Okay.
making a
Well,
statement like that.
I'm
Um
glad I asked. Wow.
but but yeah, that song's called Pancho Villa Rides Again, and
Hmm.
there's a full band version of that on my
Very cool.
Spotify page and stuff. But
Everybody check that
that's
out.
about that would probably be about as as far as I get
Interesting.
into the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Everybody had the Rage Against the Machine Che Guevara shirt when I was in middle
yeah,
school, and
exactly.
then you look him up and
Right.
oh, that dude's no kind of good at all, like real bad. But yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, me too. I definitely went through my Che Guevara phase.
Hmm.
And I speaking, I guess, of like soundtracks, or if
Hmm.
we're going to talk about soundtracks at all,
Yeah.
um, there's a movie called. Have you ever seen a movie called The Motorcycle Diaries?
I know. I
Okay.
can see the trailer in my mind. I never sat down
Yeah.
and watched it though.
So The Motorcycle Diaries is the story of Che Guevara,
Hmm.
before he was way before he was revolutionary.
Uh-huh.
It tells the story of what got kind of put him in the frame of mind to become the revolutionary that he
Uh-huh.
finally became. And it all takes place, and it shows him as a medical student in Buenos
Hmm.
Aires, and he's just this great, like, full of life, bright-eyed kid. And he has to
Hmm.
go. He and his buddy take a motorcycle up from Argentina all the way up through, like, Peru, and they go
Hmm.
all through, and Chile, and they have all these adventures. Their motorcycle breaks down. They made all these people along the way, but they ended up in this on this island of lepers, and they ended up working for, serving this community. And
Hmm.
along the way, they also see how, the indigenous people of Peru, they meet a bunch of the Indians who are just mistreated by the government, and they're
Hmm.
living in poverty. And so the soundtrack to that movie is absolutely incredible. It's
Okay.
like one of the most beautiful soundtracks I've ever heard. It's probably my top soundtrack.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
Cool.
but it's funny that we talk about him, because I went through my phase where I watched that and I was like, I love Che Guevara. I actually went to
Hmm.
when I went to Argentina, I visited his childhood home.
Okay.
His supposed childhood home.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it's
Right.
probably, maybe it is, who knows? But I mean, I was really into him, and then it wasn't until recently that I'm just like, yeah, man, I'm not down with that guy anymore at all. I
Interesting.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just funny how our lives, how our views change and
It
that
is.
kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, it happens. And then one more horrific smash cut.
Yeah,
No
sure,
great
sure, sure.
segue. Just because I don't know anything about it, your work in Alzheimer's music therapy. That seems pretty
Oh, right,
wild.
right.
So, like,
Yeah.
does that help people get through the experience of having Alzheimer's? What's that world like?
Well, I think so. The way that came about was I was living in New York City. So I moved into New York in 2001,
Hmm.
and um before the entire world changed. So
Yeah.
I moved there in March of 2001. And I went there to pursue music. And when I got there, I was living with some friends. Speaking of electronic music, that was kind of a formative time for me in
Mm.
that area, because the guys I was living with a whole bunch of guys. There were two apartments, and there were two guys that were DJs, and
Oh wow.
they
Okay.
DJed all over New York. And then there were
Cool.
the other two guys. One of my friends was a producer, did, like, and I'm not talking like massive scale stuff. I'm
Sure.
talking
Sure.
like they just did it for themselves and
Uh huh.
some gigs. Then there was another buddy of mine who was like, more of a, he ended up moving to Tokyo, but he was like super into, everybody was into that genre of music
Hmm.
basically. And I would do like guitar tracks for them, and it was fun.
Nice.
We'd always collaborate and just do like these
Very
metal guitar
cool.
lyrics.
Yeah.
Um, but that really was a formative time for me as far as like that kind of music goes. But anyways, I kind of I needed like a job. So at the time, I was married at the time, so my wife finally joined me after about 6 months. We just kind of moved
Uh
gradually. I
huh.
went first and found the apartment, and
Hmm.
she came later. And when she arrived, I still didn't have like a full-time job. I had
Uh
tried some
huh.
other part-time stuff. And so she found this ad in a newspaper, and we were living in Brooklyn, and she was like, there's a music therapist job, available on Long Island. And Long Island is the other direction from Manhattan, and this particular job was about an hour and a half away. So, anyways, I ended up taking that, and I was like, "How hard can this be? What's the
Right.
big deal?" And it was it ended up being the most fulfilling thing
Wow.
I've ever done, because New York to me was it was a really hard time. I had a hard time, like, professionally. I didn't really get anything from that experience
Okay.
professionally in my music career. I mean, I played gigs and I did stuff and I met cool people and I had some cool experiences. I had some really terrible experiences,
Right.
and embarrassing experiences and all those kinds of things.
Sure.
I learned a lot. I got my ass handed to me a lot of times up there.
Okay.
It's typical of, like, going to the big city and being humbled, basically, is what it
Right.
was. But I did learn a lot. But what the unexpected surprise of being up there was getting
Hmm.
this job with Alzheimer's patients that I did for a year. And you were asking about, I'm not certified. I'm not board
Hmm.
certified with, I'm just play music and I have empathy for people. And so it was just on a daily basis. I mean, there were a number of things that could happen, but a couple of the things that did happen was, in the morning we would do, like, sing along stuff, and
Hmm.
which was really cool, because a lot of the people, remember, this was like 2001, so
Hmm.
a lot of the people in the program were born in 1917, so their childhoods were in the 20s, so they were always asking me to play these songs from their childhood, and so I
Oh,
that
wow.
caused me to have to learn all these wonderful songs from that time period.
Wow.
And also, a lot of these guys were in, World War II, storming the beach, storming Normandy, uh, and so, it was just a cool, every day was like a time capsule going back in time, and
Wow.
just
That's
listening to them
cool.
talk. And then in the afternoon, it would be me playing piano and singing for them. And there was a couple, it would just transform. You can see people transform. It's just like when we listen to music ourselves,
Hmm.
like, there's a song that will hit you, and it's just like, oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
God,
That's
I needed that song. It's the same thing. But what would happen, and what's happened, it happened to me personally, but since it happened, I've heard it many times, is that there's something called aphasia that happens when you are get
hmm.
Alzheimer's, and what that means is you basically lose your ability to speak.
Hmm.
Your mouth can't form articulate your thoughts
Okay.
anymore. There's no connection. And so there was this woman, and her name was Bernice, and she had really severe aphasia. Like, she couldn't even talk. She couldn't even say hello or anything, and she
Hmm.
seemed confused most of the time. And one day I was playing some song, I think it was like from the Phantom of the Opera or something. I don't remember what it was. I was playing just some song, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this figure just walk up to me with this beautiful voice, and she was just singing without any words, but she was singing this song. She wasn't saying any of the words, but she was singing, like, the melody.
Uh-huh.
And I just kept playing, and we were all just looking at each
Wow.
other like, oh my God, this is.
That is.
And the staff, everybody our minds were blown. And then her husband came
Wow.
later, and her husband came to pick her up later, and just was like, yeah, she sang in the city choir in New York in the 50s or something like that. And anyway, so it was stories like that
That's
always,
cool.
it was a very, I think, I would that job was given to me, and I was put in that situation to learn about myself, because I was in a point in my life where I was going to make it, and I was going to
Right.
show the world
Right.
who I was. And then it's like, no, you're going to learn about who the person is that you need to be, and what humanity is, and what,
It's
and it was
heavy.
that I that was that's if that's the reason I think I went to New York. And if that's the lesson that I got from the life lesson that I got from being there, then it was worth it. It was worth everything to me. And so that's why, that's how that plays into my life, and
Wow. Thank you for that
so
story. That was
yeah.
really cool, man. Well, I don't know how I can follow that except with everybody's favorite feature, radiation round. The segues are real bad on this show, but that's okay because you've lived so many, like a D20, you have so many facets to you. Nerd
Yeah.
references. Radiation round is only called that because lightning is exceedingly rare in space. Say whatever you want, no wrong answers. All right, here we go with
Okay.
our lightning round. Starting out, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, or The Who?
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath. Um, I say there's no wrong answers, but sometimes there is a right answer. And the right answer on that one was Black Sabbath.
Oh, okay.
Uh, okay, difficulty increases. Vivaldi, Bartok, or Enescu?
Vivaldi.
Vivaldi. And
Yes.
Question 3 to close it out. What is the coolest and or your most favorite venue you've ever played in your storied career?
Oh man. Oh gosh.
Or just one of them. It doesn't have to be like the coolest, I'm not going to judge you.
I'd have to say that I had one of the coolest experiences was in New York City, you
Okay.
know, but it wasn't necessarily, I guess it was a really super cool venue. Yeah. It was I'd say it would be St. Nick's Pub in Harlem.
Yeah.
Um,
Very
yeah.
cool.
And it
Very
was,
cool.
yeah. Yeah. It was just an open mic, but it was the
Okay.
open jazz mic. And it was this crappy little St. Nick's Pub is this legendary jazz
Hmm.
bar that's been there forever. And it's a super small, like 20-seater place. And every
Hmm.
Monday night they have an open jam. And like I learned when I was living up there, the open jams in New York are not for amateurs.
Okay. All right.
And the jazz jam was just like super heavy players. I mean, they were amazing players, guys that
Hmm.
live in the neighborhood. And so I signed up, and then it came my turn to play, and I was like, why did I do this? Like, why did I? But I
That's
ended up
amazing.
playing, and I play the piano, so I was playing, and then I don't know if you know the trumpet player Wynton Marsalis, but he was he's the head of he's doing like a lot of things for Lincoln Center right now. He's one of
Oh,
the biggest
okay.
classical and
Just
jazz
that.
trumpet players. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's huge. He's this huge name in
Yeah.
the jazz world and the classical world. And he did all the stuff for the Ken Burns series for the jazz music stuff. And then
Nice.
it's this little bar. It's this hole in the
Hmm.
wall, and he walked in with his trumpet in his hand. He was coming from the Lincoln Center, and
Can I play,
he just walked.
guys? Like,
And no, well, I was playing my solo, and he
uh,
walked right up to me, and he was like,
get out.
yeah,
Okay.
it was like so I
That's
was
an
like,
amazing
whoa.
story.
And that was like my second week in New York, and I was like, man, New York's gonna be like this all the
Yeah. Right.
time.
Right. Oh,
So,
that's fun.
but
I
that was
keep sorry, I'm just so excited because like we keep on having these weird little parallels. Like I've been lucky enough in my life, not to your level, but to play some cool international festivals around this globe. But like my if when I answer that question, it's like, yeah, it was just this apartment in Boston, and it was like an open noise jam, like
yeah.
which was like kind of where I come from, like noise world, like just dudes leaning over effects pedals and making horrific racket. But it was just like it was like all these guys in like their 60s that just like never stopped, and I'm like, this is incredible, this is still going on, just this open mic noise jam in an apartment in Boston. A guy that I was a fan of, I mean, not to like Lincoln Center level, but like he just showed up one night and was like, oh, Scrap EDX from the 2000s, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
uh, so
Well, yeah, but it's always cool. It's still cool when you know someone, somebody means something to you, I
yeah,
mean, and
yeah.
you have that experience for that person,
That
you know.
is that is great. I mean, no global musicians just started came up and playing the trumpet next to my open mic night. Second week in New York, but
Yeah,
that's
it's
cool,
crazy.
man. Like this is the. It really is this easy to make it. Right? The and so before I forget, we'll move on to everybody's second favorite feature, hypothetical spectacle. This is where we come up with like a weird scenario and just sort of let our imagination caps run wild. So we well, in your bio and even here, we've described your stuff as cinematic.
Mhm.
Um, I was wondering if you could go back in time and rescore any movie, or alternatively, describe the type of movie that you would want to score from like a particular director or something like that.
I would go back and score the Titanic
You would go
because
back and score this. Okay, fascinating.
I'd
Why?
be well only because I'd be a multi-bazillionaire right now if I did
Okay, no, that's great. Perfect. I mean,
that.
I didn't even think about it like that,
No,
but
I'm
that's the
just
perfect answer. Like, yeah, why wouldn't I score the biggest? Okay, cool. Any?
I
Would
don't
you?
know. You know what? I'd probably go back and do I've seen some television shows with some pretty terrible music.
Okay,
But most for the most part though, there's been some great everything's been wonderful, I
okay.
think, for the most part. I can't really think of any. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I think instead of the orchestra playing on the Titanic while the ship goes down, it's just Los Diablos Tejanos killing it, and then
Yeah.
and then the
Yeah,
magic
man.
of the Americana just lifts the ship up, and history has changed, and we just saved the world here on Space Couch. So well done
Yeah.
to our guest Anthony Garcia, and so we'll close it out. here unless you have any like. Well, let me ask you this: what's next for the mighty Anthony Garcia? You have a songwriting festival coming up. As I spilled seltzer on
Mhm.
myself.
Yeah, so we're like I said, we're going to go to Europe,
That's
in
so cool
Europe and then Montana. So Europe is happening in
because
August
they're
and
next to
the
each other.
beginning of September, and then the songwriter thing is in up in Montana. And as far as that, all that goes, that's about as far as,
That's so cool,
that's
man.
about all that I'm doing right now. Just continue to make albums, continue to make music, and
Oh, I
uh,
will. We are excited that I'll bring this flying couch back on into the station, but now we'll do everybody's third favorite feature, the what we learned today. Well, most importantly, for me, Le Rêve Américain is out right now. Any place you get music, Bandcamp, Spotify, all that. Check it out. It's delightful. You get things done fast. I don't know. It just hits my brain in a weird way, but probably because it's awesome. Our guest today not only puts out music under his own nom de plume, but with a full band, Los Diablos Tejanos. Check that out. He is very deadline based. We know the city of Freiburg am Breisgau very well,
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's
which is
crazy.
crazy. Uh, Crazy origin story being having your father escape from Pancho Villa on a horse at the
The
age of
origin story.
10. That
Yeah.
is a crazy origin story, and that's only where it starts because we have full bore awakenings going on in Alzheimer's world. That's wild. Um, Black Sabbath, Vivaldi, and a venue in New York City where world-renowned trumpetists just show up, and we'll be doing the soundtrack of Titanic, and along with some crappy TV shows. And everybody check out Deprogrammed on the YouTubes and wherever you
Yeah.
watch that sort of thing, because
Deprogrammed with Carrie Smith. And
because
then if I could just
she's.
say that my,
Oh
my
yeah,
website is anthonygarciamusic.com.
how about I
And
do something semi-professional and put some links out there? I'm so sorry,
yeah.
Anthony.
Oh, that's okay.
And you got
No,
give us all the links.
well, the reason I wanted to say that was because there's another guy named Anthony Garcia. Well, there's several Anthony Garcias making music, or artists that get confused with me on the various platforms. So
Hmm.
if you just go to my website and go to albums, that's going to take you to all the places, and you can still stream. You can go to Spotify and Pandora and
Okay.
all that stuff.
Oh
But
yeah, I
I've
got.
I've 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 put the albums, and then underneath it's the all the little buttons for each album, so you can go
Very
there.
smart.
And also the other Anthony Garcia, there's one Anthony Garcia who's a doctor that ended up, he's like a serial killer, and he's being sentenced to death. He's been sentenced to death. So I get
Okay.
confused with that guy all the time. But he's, so if you just Google my name, that's gonna come up. But you could
Okay.
go down that rabbit hole if you wanted to. I mean, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
you do you, but I would recommend the soundtrack specifically from this Anthony Garcia. While you do
yeah.
that, so it's AnthonyGarciaMusic.com.
.com. Mhm.
Dot
And then
com.
and then all the stuff's on their Instagram. It's just Anthony Music without the A. So the at is the A. So Anthony Music.
I see what you
Yeah.
did
See what I
there.
did? See what I did? See what I
Yeah,
did?
and well, awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey,
Uh,
thank you for having me.
this
I
is really
appreciate it.
exciting for me. I get to that Freiburg thing is just gonna like
Yeah, it's
my head.
crazy.
So gut ist das. So this is Brian for Space Couch for Anthony Garcia saying call the spaceship to the airport, prepare for it of anarchy, and interface with the couch in space. Space Couch! Ow! And then this is I let us talk over the end credits here. But dude, thank you so much. This was gonna be
Yeah.
a really good one. I had a lot of fun, and wow, you got some killer stories.
Oh, thanks, man. I like the astronaut at the bottom doing
Oh yeah,
this.
I forgot what I named. Oh right, he's named Spence Couch. I forgot I named him. So if you're still listening, he's named Spence
Yeah.
Couch.